Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming. I'd like to start thanking Ericsson as a sponsor. He's being able to give us, making it possible for us to be here. And the program INFINIT.ON that we'll be showing you later on. Also, the network red.es and the organizers of FICOT 15 meeting all the leaders in the sector, digital sectors. We'll be analyzing the world, the changing world, digital world actually, and looking at different companies, huge corporations, and also young people doing huge things in the technology world. First of all, I'd like to introduce all of the members of the table. I'd like to introduce Fabián León, who, as you know, he was a runner-up of MasterChef. He's a young Spanish entrepreneur, and he's the CEO of the Foodinthebox company. Thank you, and you have the floor, Fabián. Hi. Well, this panel is going to be very interesting. I'm going to give about 3 to 5 minutes to each of the panelists to give us some context of what they're doing. And I mean, this is very interesting because we have two big parts of society represented here. Huge corporations and small entrepreneurs. And do you know what a millennial is? The generation of millennial? Well, I know that some of you are at least interested. Millennials were born in the 80s and 90s, and this generation is going to make most of the workforce in 2020. They have a peculiarity. They grew up in the digital area, and this has made possible for them to have what they call liquid mentality and dynamic and fluid. This is making possible huge changes in big corporations. We're talking about spontaneity, things like this device that I have here. Please raise your hands if you have a mobile phone. Right. Who in here has read a piece of news in the internet this weekend or this last week? Please raise your hands, and this is important. Who followed the Paris bombings in the internet? Was it on TV or on social networks? Exactly. I think things are changing now because we are using more the digital. When Pablo told me we're going to organize this panel with millennials and big companies together, I thought this is going to be very interesting. And we need to know exactly that we're not looking for jobs, we're looking for challenges. We're looking for experiences. And if that is clear in our minds, we'll be fine. So, Pablo, please continue introducing the panelists. Right. Before we start the discussion, I'm going to do a very, very brief introduction. We started with Fabián León, finalist of MasterChef and CEO of Foodinthebox. Next to him, we have Jordan Casey, who is founder of Casey Games and TeachWare. He's one of the most important young developers in Europe. We also have Javier Alaves. He's been a cooperator of our e-learning program in Israel. Then from entrepreneurs, we go to corporations, and I'll introduce you to my left, Luisa Izquierdo, who is Director of Human Resources in Microsoft Iberia. Next to her, Juan Calvo, Head of Talent Acquisition for the Mediterranean region at Ericsson. And next to him, Valentin Fernandez, who is the Strategic Director of the Telefónica Open Future, which is open platform. Okay, after this brief presentation, I would like to do a first round of a very brief comments. How do you see the world that is coming, the future, and the new challenges with a very positive attitude? So we will start with a millennial and then with a non-millennial. So Luisa, please, can we start with you? Yes, sure. Okay, I don't think that we are that far in this in terms of age, and in any other aspects. In big corporations and big companies, we believe that the digital transformation has changed the way that we live, and not just in terms of corporations and big companies. We communicate and take information in different ways, and I think we have all assumed that. How do we transfer that to big corporations? Well, we see that as a big challenge, not as a problem. So from Microsoft, what's your opinion? How is a huge corporation like Microsoft facing the new situation, the new digital world? Well, it's based in two main themes: mobile first and cloud first. When we talk about mobile first, we're not talking about the device, because maybe in a few years it might not be a mobile phone or a tablet, it might be something different. But this experience of mobility, just moving around, not being tied up to a chair or to a PC, and this is behind all the philosophy of Microsoft. And also, the other one is the cloud concept, where information is in a cloud, and big large companies make infrastructure so people can immediately find out the information. This mobile first and cloud first is at the core of Microsoft philosophy. From our company, from Pangea, we know that things are changing. But what do you think is the role of the young people, and how are we going to face the professional world in terms of digital? Well, I believe there is an important piece of information that we're talking about an unconnected world between different generations, as are represented here. But we know that not even half of the world is connected to the internet, and sometimes we forget that. We know that there's a lot of people that we need to reach on the internet, and they might actually have a lot of talent. There are big challenges. We know. We keep talking about energy, huge and big themes like pollution, etc. But how this young generation, these millennials, have a role, and this is something that we want to drive from Pangea. Nowadays, companies had a very clear idea of what its role was going to be in 10 years, in a 10 years period. And this situation is changing things because the environment is in constant change. So nowadays, the company has to look at different, very short-term strategies. So we can say that the world is more dynamic now in this sense for companies. There is a lot of innovation, and this, we hope this is going to be the future, all this innovation and constant change. We are the first generation that shares that much information, not only with people of my own age, but with my parents and my grandparents as well. This is the first time that this happens in history. Talking about interconnectivity, we have with us Ericsson, with Juan, represented by Juan Calvo. So, what do you think about how can we deal with these new tools that allow us to follow events like the Paris bombings? This world is so interconnected and everything goes so fast. What are the challenges? Well, in Ericsson, what we know that this is a new industrial revolution. It's the digitalization age, and this is changing and modifying the value chain, the cloud and mobility. Everything is being accelerating in an exponential way, and new business opportunities are being generated in areas where it was impossible in the past. Thanks to these new boosters and drivers, it's generating the need for different companies to adopt this transformation. Companies now need to adapt to this new situation to be successful, and most of the times just to survive, in order to be able to survive. There's a chance to change the world, to make it even better, and we work together with millennials, with new generations in order to do this. This is part of our DNA in our company. We're very optimistic. We are very passionate to incorporate new talent, and we know that we are, as I said, living this transformation, and we are very optimistic. How do you face in the change of Ericsson? How do you deal with the way of understanding work in a big corporation? And I'm talking about this old model, these old models. How do you manage that with the idea of the millennials now of getting new opportunities, working for free sometimes, and just getting new experience? Well, we know that there are different models, different old paradigms of I'm going to give you a safe job for life. That doesn't work anymore. We know that we have to transform these models, interact more with the new generations. Globalization is changing all these. The place of work is not that relevant. Sometimes we have to work from in mobile environments with people from different areas in the world as well, other generations, and this is key. We need to adapt to the flexibility, to the different ways of work. So there's a lot of things that we are actually changing to benefit the society of this change. Now, I'd like to ask now Jordan, in your case, as a new entrepreneur, why, in your case, would you like to end up working in a big corporation? Would you like to work in a big corporation, or would you not like to work in a big corporation?
Well, I don't know really. Because of my sort of nature, I have this sort of mentality that I want to be sort of my own sort of entrepreneur. I want to run my own businesses. But I think that thanks to sort of the digital world, a lot more kids have that opportunity now as well. Like, for example, if I wanted to make a game 30 years ago, I would have had to go through a publisher, go through a big corporation and put it in a store. But now I can do it at the click of the button. And so I think that releases a lot more creativity and entrepreneurship amongst more young kids. So I think a lot of kids nowadays would sort of go down the route of wanting to start their own corporations, really. So, yeah.
Okay. So you're not interested in working in big corporations?
Me, not really. I just want to do my own thing.
And what do you think like what do you think is a big challenge or the main challenge big corporations are facing at the moment when it comes to get young people involved or hired in that sense?
I don't know really. It's not something that I know a lot about, like big corporations. But I think just making a fun work environment really, and one where like people feel important, like would just be really important, to be honest. Yeah.
And do you think it's possible to be an entrepreneur and work in a big company? Like
Yeah,
to have entrepreneurial mindset in that sense and to be working for a big corporation?
Yeah, I think it is probably important. Yeah, like if corporations give more young people freedom, like sort of an entrepreneurial freedom, then I think that would help to attract more talent. But yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jordan. We will now speak about Telefónica. So they're launching their innovation platform, Telefónica Open Future, and you want to embrace this talent, this innovation. So what is your point of view? You are one of the major telecommunications company, and how are you facing all this digitalization, and what is the perception of young people? Do you think you want to keep talent, to make people, young people, creative? How do you do that? How do you achieve it? No company can survive over time if they do not think about young people, and if they don't worry about what people are interested in the future. If you turn your back to the new generation, you are burying yourself almost. Right now, things are changing really fast, and we realized a few years ago that was what happening was not just another change. We needed to change the way we work, the way we understand the processes. I believe it is compatible for big companies, and it's also needed for them to listen to young talents, because they bring along new ideas that can help the company grow. Young people like challenges, and that's very good. We also have an entrepreneurship program, and we're trying to make our employees dedicate part of their time to their own projects as well. And with the Open Future program, we want to say that we are open to collaborating with any entrepreneur, any company that shares this philosophy. Right now, digital revolution is happening so fast, and it's so broad that no matter how much R&D you're doing, it's not enough. And that is the only way to keep your eyes open to what is happening in the world, with as many windows as possible, and trying to interact with as many players as possible. Before before we keep on talking about millennials, what do you think is motivating young people to work for your companies? In your case, with digitalized companies and global companies, it's not like small companies with very few employees. No, you work with a lot of mobility, but those companies, Microsoft, Telefónica, Ericsson, what do you think of that? There is something important, which is to connect with the aspirational side of this younger generation. We need to connect with what they aim to do and to become a relevant company, concerning what you want to do in today's society. So Microsoft connects really well with the young generation, I believe. We can say empower every individual and every organization in the planet to achieve more. And if we do that, we're gaining a bigger dimension, we're connecting with the aspirational side. Another important thing is to have a work environment that allows them and allows us as well to feel more at ease. In the case of Microsoft, we say that work is something we do, it's not a place we go to. And employees at Microsoft can work wherever they want. Our offices are designed in such a way that it enables collaboration between employees. If you need to keep out your own things and if you need a lot of concentration, you can work from wherever you want. But if you want to innovate, sit down with a few colleagues, organize a video conference, you can come to the office and see a lot of different areas. So rooms for small meetings, or conferences with small crowds, and it allows you to work in a collaborative way, and that's important. We don't want to give them also like working times. You need to be at the office from that time to that time. No. It's really good to be flexible for your employees. I can benefit from that if I want to take my kids to school. I feel happier when I go to work, and I will be more productive. Do you all agree, you three that represent big companies? Do you think that previous generation agree with that as well, that collaborative areas are nice and important? A lot of people might think that it's a nice trend, but it doesn't mark a real difference. Well, you can participate as well. Sorry, I will still speak, but talking about flexibility, if people understand the concept, it can help. Sometimes we're a bit scared about getting into that dynamic, but then numbers say otherwise. We have gained productivity. People are coming to work. They're not taking sick leaves. So our indicators have improved. Since we do not have a fixed area for our employees, they don't now have their own desk. They can sit wherever they want. And people are coming more into the office. They're realizing all the benefits it has, and satisfaction levels have risen as well. And there is this spirit in the office that is really good for everyone. It's part of that value proposition we're offering them, and it connects really well with everyone. We all like to work in a pleasant work environment. That is the key. Yes, indeed. When people feel at ease, they do perform better. Also, with working from home, it's true that a lot of companies allow that, not maybe every single day, but quite a few days. And it's a way to keep connected with the company. You need to know how to manage your time when you work from home. That's important, but it has a lot of advantages, that is for sure. Also in terms of clothing, for instance, people realize that who cares how you dress, sorry. So these things, are getting lost along the way, and people just have to feel at ease when they work. That's the important thing. People are assuming these new concepts in a natural way, more and more. So it depends on the kind of work as well. When you want to have a good reaction from your top managers, well, sometimes you cannot give flexibility to some job positions, but connectivity is helping flexibility for sure, and everything is going to change even more. Something important for adopting changes is the values. Companies who value concepts such as trust will adopt those changes more easily. Companies who have a different relationship with their employees might find it more difficult, a more rigid approach, and companies with a more rigid approach. So understanding work areas is key here. And we have a report, Working Labs, on our website that is very interesting. And we're saying that it's not just about stocking employees in a building. We need to create areas where innovation comes up, where people with different backgrounds, different trainings and experiences can create something new. That's what we're trying to promote. Does it make sense for you? Your companies, if the board of directors has to understand that, does it happen? Do they understand the evolution of work in our society? Fabian, after listening what they say, do you agree with that? I totally agree with what they say. It all boils down to that, and that's how I summarize it. We need to focus on the way and not on the goal. For a millennial, if you give him a long-term goal, such as in the baby boom area, you need to earn that when you're gonna be older and etc. Well, that's something we don't like. We're just gonna run away from that. It's not like with the X generation. Success is important when you are young, you want to be rich, and no, we are basing our success in our experience and also in flexibility. That can be in the working times, but also in several aspects, such as you can work in your pajamas from home if you're gonna be more productive. You might like to go to the office because that's your choice. It all comes down to flexibility, and I'm also realizing that there's something that's being applied in big corporations right now, and it's the fact that we really like working with other generations that have a lot more knowledge than we do. They can, we can learn a lot out of them, but we don't want to have this hierarchy. We want to work hand in hand to have a horizontal way of working. We want to collaborate all together and get to the same objective. So for a millennial, for someone who's interested in in his own projects as an entrepreneur, if he works for a big company, the company needs to offer what he wants. We need to motivate that audience, and it can be done through flexibility, through making them feel part of a big project. Obviously, it has to be a global project, but it also has to go through determined and specific objectives. As an entrepreneur, would you work for a big corporation? I need to confess that I have not worked a lot for other people. I've been an entrepreneur right from the start, and I see that as a lifestyle. The fact, of me creating my projects, to develop my project, to have the ability to take all decisions whenever I want without having to ask anyone else, apart from my partners. That gives me a lot of leeway and a lot of motivation to work day after day. But you don't know what will happen in the future. You might get a very good offer or a very good opportunity that will allow you to promote the values you're supporting, and that's the important thing for me. So to put what I was saying into context, do you agree with the fact that companies are changing more and more? You are positive. Yes, I'm positive, and I don't think it's a path we need to take. It's something that is already happening. Companies are changing right now. We have a clear example here showing us how big companies are adapting to the environment. You need to live or die, and you adapt and live or die, and that's Darwin's law. So you also need to make change happen internally as well, right? Okay. along the same way, you were asking would they work for big companies? Well, sometimes when you work for a big company, it doesn't mean you are on a payroll 30 days a month. No, sometimes you can hire specific tasks to a freelance to do some consulting job, for instance, in an area where as an expert. You will work with him for 2 weeks and that's all. And then you will get other projects, that's fine. And you might just work again together or not. That's the kind of collaborations that are getting more and more usual.
We've seen that in the old times, people used to work in the same company until they retired, and now this has actually changed. This is a completely different situation right now. How can you channel this talent that is eager to try different things? How can you actually retain this young talent from the human resources departments? Do you have a model? Are we moving from a model of retaining into a model of engaging, making it more engaging and more attractive for these young talent to stay? Well, we try to give them new challenges so they can actually enjoy what they're doing. It's a bit like a video game with different stages. You have a stage, you have a screen with certain challenges, and then you go to the next. So in that sense, we are trying to offer this internal mobility at a national and international level, the capacity of being able to create, because this generation is always asking why and why. So we have to give them the tools to be able to do that. To so that's the main point from our company. Well, we were saying that yesterday we were talking that flexibility is key, but at the same time it brings a lot of responsibility. Microsoft, with this new environment of work, is having good results, but can you see that this flexibility can present some problems or some challenges? Some people do not know how to work with it. Well, generally, not really. People are very responsible when you give them this flexibility. We need to know exactly what that kind of position entails, obviously. On the other hand, some people do not like to have this flexibility. Some people prefer to have a work from 9 to 5. But so there are different profiles. There's people that do not like working with a sofa with 3 people and one guy sitting on the floor. I mean, you have people that are not going to feel very comfortable in these environments as well. So we need to know exactly who likes what. And something that I liked was the coexistence with different generations, something that was mentioned here. We tend to talk about diversity, we talk about gender diversity, we talk about cultural diversity of different ages. And in our cases, what we do is we work with something called reverse mentoring. So we thinking about a senior that works with a junior and mentors him. We do it the other way around. And what we do is reverse mentoring. We look for somebody who is very young, and we go in person. And I go like, hello, I'm Luisa, I'm the director of the such and such department. And then we say, would you like to work with me an hour a month, for example, to help me with social networks, because I don't feel very confident with that. This gives us huge value in a company, because the young generations are helping the older generations. That's why it's called reverse mentoring. And in this way, listening is key. We have to create environments in where managers listen to, look at the environment, look at the people, because things are changing, the times are different, and we need to learn from everyone in the company, and especially from the youngest, and we need to create that engagement and listen more than talking, to be honest. In Pangea, what we do is we do not think that age is a defining factor in creating new synergies and developing new strategies. How do you think, Javier, that that so-called conflict, but which is actually a cooperation between generations, is going to be dealt with in the future? How can we actually manage that that challenge? Because the young guys think, okay, the seniors will not listen to us. So, well, the challenge is there. We know that in some companies the change is happening. These are exemplary and model companies all around the world. And for example, many people like the agricultural sector, and they might not like the digital industries. So we might have this clash as well. So this is just another example that not everybody likes exactly the same thing. And in this sense, feedback is extremely important. We need to listen to each other. We need to know what everybody needs. And I think that more and more work is something very personal. We need to focus on one-to-one sessions. We need to work together with at different levels of the company, and we need to headline this type of strategies and relations. And I think in the future, the technology is going to have a higher penetration in industry, in all types of industry, in different areas such as medicine or domestic products. And with this technological evolution, we will find a moment in the future where the companies will need to engage in these new talent strategies to adapt to their own needs and the needs of their customers as well. I know that the situation is changing in the present. We're seeing that change. But I think in the future we'll have to make even more changes, all of us. Well, technology is a means, but digitalization is a way of understanding things. We tend to think on different applications, on social networks, on mobile phones. And we have to look beyond. We have to look at arts. We have to look at sports. Because everything is now connected all around the planet. Well, we have a few minutes, about 10 minutes more, and I'd like to ask you a couple of questions in order to foster this communication between these two sectors. I know, and it's clear that there's a lot of things that make us more similar. I'd like to ask you now, what is missing right now in big corporations and things that you would like to change as millennials? For example, you can start. Well, first of all, I'd like to mention that we shouldn't be looking at millennials and corporations as a fight, as an opposition. We should be working together. Well, things that are missing or things that can be improved in a big corporation. First of all, feedback. If we as millennials get continuous feedback, or when we're inside, I think this is one of the key factors, and which is going to make us want to stay. Apart from feedback, we need to foster the entrepreneurship inside of the company. And I think this might be one of the fundamental factors to boost and attract more new talents. So we have to acknowledge that we are enjoying the way. We're not looking about what are we going to do in 20 years. Obviously, we're not silly. We need to know that it's important what we will be doing in 20 years' time. But we value experience. We value what we're doing, and if the company understands that, many things actually can change. Jordan, what's your opinion? If you would like to one day move into a big corporation, what do you expect them to offer you?
Well, you mentioned earlier about the whole entrepreneurship sort of combination. I think you mentioned about Telefónica allowing more sort of entrepreneurs to work on their projects as well as working with the corporation. That's something that I'd find really attractive. Like just being given that more freedom and more independence to work on what you care about would be really attractive to me.
Okay.
Javier, what's about you? What's your opinion? Well, I'd like to mention the idea how to create a dynamic culture inside of the company. We can do things always in a different way. We can be more flexible, always being adapted to a number of resources or a number of objectives. But I'm mentioning now and touching on the startup model. It's important to look for objectives, but at the same time, we need to enjoy the process. We need to enjoy what we're doing, and we should. So, in that sense, we should get closer to this new startup model being generated now. Also, to reflect a friendly image of the company, because sometimes when I talk to people of my age and ask them, where would you like to work? And they say Snapchat, Twitter, because these companies invest to try to reach that public, to that segment. So that's important to invest in that corporate image. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And inside of the company, well, there is issues of culture, feedback, and adapting to the new world. Also, obviously, not making the brand attractive to the buyer, but also to the employer, to the employee. That's very important. I think that when you start at university, everybody wants to work in big corporation, and when you're a final year student, just 5% would like to work in big corporations. So that changes during the studies. How would you like to sort of incorporate these new attitudes in your companies, and how do you know that changes are working nowadays? Well, we know there is this huge change for new talent and connecting with this way of presenting ourselves. Nowadays, communication is completely social. The way we look at the world and we connect, it's totally influenced by social networks. So if we transfer all these messages, if we use these social networks, that is fundamental. We need to use them. On the other hand, we need to also receive this feedback with tools, with Glassdoor. We need to know what's the feedback, what's the comments, what are the opinions of people. I think establishing these channels of communications is one of the pillars, so the platforms and the tools need to be in place in the company. We cannot forget that we are in a globalized world, which is virtual, and we cannot deny the existence of these platforms. Things like skills of how to play, how to go in online, we are going to need all these skills in big corporations, and we need to find ways of adapting them and incorporating them, because these will be the skills of the leaders of the future, how to give immediate feedback, strategy, to enjoy as one of the tools of engagement. These are tools that you youngsters are bringing, and we need to incorporate and work with them as well. Well, I completely agree with Juan. It's we need to change this cultural model. It's a shift. It's something that cannot be stopped, and we need to acknowledge that the freer are people, the more responsible they are, and this is something that's being proved over and over again. And in this environment is where new ideas flourish, and where the appropriate attitudes are found. So people who apply these new strategies faster are the ones that are going to be heading in the future. I completely agree. And Luis, I'd like to ask you another question. Is it easy? Is it difficult? Is it a challenge to adapt this talent and work together? How can we manage different teams in different countries, in Spain, in Romania? We know that we have to work with different cultural contexts. It's not obviously the same in Spain or as in different countries. How do you manage this diversity of talents in different countries? In some, is that are we seeing any changes in that respect? Well, in our corporation, we have all these digital tools at our hand. The moment you can organize a video conference and you can see each other, it's not exactly the same as sitting around a table, but it's a very similar experience. So in that sense, technology is generating these spaces where we can establish these relationships in a much better way. We need to have more cultural awareness. You can take a flight and go to China in a few hours, but that does not mean that China has a completely different culture and things are made very differently in that country, because sometimes we tend to forget about that. We go to the airport and we think that we are in Spain and we're not there. Things are quite complex. We need to be very humble. We need to listen. We need to try and learn as well, because we have to be aware this is the other side of the world, and that entails a lot of things that and a lot of aspects that make us completely different. But I think technologies are actually closing the gap in the present. Well, to conclude, can you give us a quick message, an elevator pitch about how to create new challenges in the future? Okay, we start with Fabián. Very quickly, just a quick message about what the future entails. Well, just to sum up, in my opinion, I think that basically it boils down to the following. Small and medium companies and big corporations And millennials, they know exactly what's the way forward. They know what values need to be boosted. So at the end of the day, we need to create new things. So that's the thing. Sobre el futuro, pienso que va a ser más importante incorporar cada vez más talento joven. Hay que incorporar talento joven, incluso de mi edad o incluso más jóvenes. Y esto creo que va a ser importante para las grandes corporaciones. A ver. Well, it's a cultural issue. We're talking about the convergence, about different generations. There's people that are very passionate, the millennials, the young people that are coming and are meeting with people more experienced in the industry. And they need to be working together. So we need to listen to each other. We need to try to understand each other. And I think that the change has already started. We need to now to start to work together in this transformation in the future. Because we need to, as I say, we need to capture this talent that is already there, out there. Valentin? Well, I mean, in the same line, I think we are more and more aware that if we wish to get the best, you need to give the people the environment in which they feel very comfortable. And when you do that, when you give people the tools and you give people the freedom, you get the best results. We don't have to be scared about change. So the best is to not be afraid of of change. In my case, I read from I read a sentence by Abraham Lincoln. He said the best way of predicting the future is to create it yourself. I think that's very appropriate. This is a historical moment. We are innovating, we're changing, we are trying to reach the potential of people and companies, and that's important. Well, I think that that was a very nice way to conclude, but let's try and give you another quick sentence. I think that digital transformation is a huge opportunity for big corporations to leave the egos aside, to evolve, to reinvent themselves, to learn, and be open to listen. In that way, we're going to generate these very attractive environments which will attract millennials and also to ourselves, the guys that are working for the company for longer years. But obviously, we need to work together, not just with millennials, but with seniors as well that give a lot of value. So we need to put the whole thing in the mix and try and work together. And now, just to conclude, the interconnection between generations is extremely important. And that's what we're doing in our companies. Training is not an option; it's something that we need to be. Is a reality. So I'd like to thank you all, Fabián, Jordan, Javier, Valentin, Juan, and Luisa, for your assistance. Thank you for your companies, Telefónica, Microsoft, and Ericsson, especially, for being here today. Thank you. Thank all partners and sponsors that have made FICOT possible. Thank you for your assistance, and we hope to see you next year, and we hope that next year things are even better than now. Thank you very much. We have, I think, a question here.
What channels are you using to attract young talent into your organizations? We have all channels open, social networks, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. If someone wants to connect with me, please do so. We have our own in-house recruiters, and you can also be brand ambassadors. You know, it's not only about what I say as a human resources manager, it's also what people who are working with us can tell you. You know, good and bad things. They will be able to tell you if what I'm saying is true. Same thing for us. We're present in all relevant channels. We also have agreements with universities to give way for talent to get to us. There's also fantastic places where you see ratings and the response of talent, what's their feedback. So we're trying to be in most channels. On top of traditional channels, online and offline, there's a scholarship program, Talentum, which is very interesting for us. That's a way for us to get to know new talent in the last years of training. And a lot of them then start working for Telefónica. We have an online platform where people can upload their projects. The Open Future platform, that's also a new window where people from within a team can work with entrepreneurs, and that's another way of attracting talent. Any other question? Last question there. Okay. Okay, let's wait for the microphone. Okay, the question is for the millennials. I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest challenge you've been faced with at your age regarding entrepreneurship? You know, when you're being an entrepreneur, for all of us who are the same age as you. Who wants to answer? I guess the biggest challenge until I was 19, I turned 19, was to make it compatible with all of the rest, the other things, you know, to have your hobby, to be an entrepreneur, to study. I'm still studying, you know, in my second year of university. And in that case, yes, the biggest challenge was to manage my time, you know, during the day. Until I get more than 24 hours a day. I'm a bit short of time, so it's a bit difficult to manage that. And that's the only thing I'd say to carry out all the projects you want to do. And then there's also something that's more an opportunity, and a piece of advice is that to rely on the support of people who are around you. That's very important when you're starting your career as an entrepreneur. And it's important because that's the people who like you, who are going to trust you no matter what you do. And I'm talking here about close friends, family. Their support in my case was essential for me to face all the big challenges that I came across in those previous years. Okay, we don't have more time. We can stay here later if you want, if you have further questions, but please give a round of applause to the speakers here.